I love visual novels. It's a genre of games that I discovered after watching the second anime adaptation of what would soon become both one of my favourite animes and visual novels, Kanon. You typically play through the story through the eyes of a male character who has conveniently found themselves in a situation where they are unfamiliar with their environment and surrounded by adorable girls. I mean, as I was saying, you would then get to know these girls through the main character's conversations with them, changing the flow of dialogue occasionally by choosing a different dialogue option. Well, what's next for these girls? What's the next logical step that these girls should obviously take? Well, of course, it's to beat the living fuck out of each other! Gentlemen, let me introduce to you Eternal Fighter Zero, a PC doujin fighting game starring characters from the visual novels Kanon, Air, One Kagayaku Kisetsu Air, also known as One to the Radiant Season, and Moon. The latter two visual novels were originally developed by Tactics, but if you're anything like me, then you're probably more familiar with the former two visual novels developed by Key, as well as their anime adaptations by Kyoto Animation. The playable characters of Eternal Fighter Zero are as follows. From Kanon, we have Ayu, Nayuki, Sleepy Nayuki, Nariku's mum Akiko, Makoto, Shiori, Mai, Sayuri, Kaori, and Mishio. Playable from Air is Misuzu, Kano, Minagi, and Kana. Joining them is Ikumi from Moon, and Mizuka, Rumi, Akane, Misaki, Mayu, Doppel, and Mizuka from One. It's too bad that Eternal Fighter Zero was released before Key's other big franchise, Clannad, had started. Maybe we could have seen some Clannad characters in this game. Well, I guess I would have mostly ended up playing as Ayu anyway. I mean, she is one of my favourite anime characters. Clannad? What? What in the... Clannad isn't even supposed to be out yet. Why is that... Oh, yeah. Eternal Fighter Zero has multiple versions, each of which being identical except for one or two new characters and stages. Not unlike the various different versions of Street Fighter games. I guess that some minor Easter eggs were added to later versions of the game as well, like the version I'm reviewing, Eternal Fighter Zero Memorial, which is the last version to be released. Let's get the visuals out of the way next, since there isn't really much to talk about regarding them. So the game runs at a very low resolution, and the developers decided to go for a more pixelated graphical approach, which works well enough. The sprite work for the characters is phenomenal, and it has just the right amount of detail, is very well animated, and is never off model. The backgrounds, on the other hand, are just kind of there. They're nothing really special, but they do what they need to decently enough. Now, I've mentioned in my Street Fighter 4 review that I'm not a huge player of fighting games, especially not when they involve tons of complicated button combos in order to pull off moves.
I said flying powerbomb! Crap, I suck at this game. What does it... I don't even... What?!
Eternal Fighter Zero is definitely one of those games, yet, much like Street Fighter 4, it's designed in a way that allows anyone to just play and have fun mashing buttons without having to memorize special moves. It's loads of fun, even when you're only making use of the most simple mechanics, like your 3 attack buttons, light, medium, and strong, ducking, jumping, double jumping, blocking by moving in the opposite direction that you're facing, double tapping left or right to dash, and so on. But to those who are interested, there's also some more advanced techniques, some of which are very unique and interesting. One of these that I really enjoyed is the use of mid-air combos and revivals. When a player is hit in mid-air, a bar will appear beneath them, which will run out really quickly. This is normally a great opportunity to start unloading as many attacks as you can, since the player is defenseless for this short amount of time. When the bar does empty, however, the player can revive themselves with a single jump in midair, allowing them to either safely land or to perform a counterattack. It's also worth mentioning that the bar will refill every time an attack is landed onto the incapacitated player, so using combos well can result in some devastating strings of midair attacks. Of course, it is worth mentioning attacks require button sequences in order to perform. As is standard with this sort of game, each character has their own unique special moves, but more unique to this game is Eternity Specials and Final Memories. Simply put, these are devastatingly powerful moves that are powered by the gauge at the bottom of the screen, which is called the SP gauge. Eternity Specials use up one segment of the gauge, and Final Memories, which are without a doubt the most damaging and flashy moves in the game, not only require all 3 segments of the SP gauge to be full, but can also only be performed when you have a third of your health left. Both of these moves are very powerful, and using your Final Memory pretty much guarantees victory. The only downside of these moves is that the button sequences that are required to pull them off are incredibly long, which also makes them very, very difficult to pull off. This wouldn't be too much of a problem if it weren't for the fact that button combos never fucking work! The game requires you to be ultra precise and ultra fast when executing button sequences for any special move, which makes performing most special moves unfairly difficult to the point that you could swear that you were just as fast and accurate as a human could possibly be, and yet the move still did not work. This, combined with the immense length of the sequences for Eternity Specials and Final Memories, makes Eternity Specials and Final Memories nearly impossible to perform. The only thing that I could do to make these moves remotely fair was to, ironically, cheat by using an external program to perform the move perfectly with a single button press on my controller. I don't care how many of you peers out there think what I'm doing makes me a cheap whore, because if the game requires me to perform a button press so quickly and accurately that it's near impossible for any human being to physically do it, then something isn't fucking right!
We're having a little interference here.
誰かワイヤレスを使ってますか
Somebody out there using wireless? Anybody?
リハーサルではとても上手にできたんです
Everything went really well in our rehearsals. You guys need to turn off all your wireless devices.
It's alright. I'm calm. Let's continue. Even though some moves are ridiculously challenging to pull off, when you get them right, they can be brilliantly satisfying and just plain awesome, especially to fans of the character source material. It's obvious that these characters were not designed to fight like this, so the creative effort that was put into the characters' movesets is astounding. This isn't always the case. For example, some characters are just given a weapon out of nowhere, like in Koto's gun. But generally speaking, the moveset design is brilliant. Let's take Ayu for example. She's the main heroine of Canon, and one of my favourite anime characters. She's also friggin' kawaii desu. Ugu.
また真似した
Ugu.
意地悪
Team Frontier has done an amazing job of making her, as well as every other character, a plausible fighter. The wings on Ayu's backpack, which were originally just there for decoration, are used in Eternal Fighter Zero to perform neat and powerful attacks. Ayu has an obsession with the Japanese pastry taiyaki, so one of her special moves involves riding a giant taiyaki into her opponent. Another special move of hers involves simply charging into her opponent, something that happens often in canon due to her clumsiness. This kind of inside joke filled design only gets better and better, like Misuzu throwing peach nectar at her enemies, Nayuki fighting while half asleep, and Akiko using all kinds of housework utensils like brooms, vacuum cleaners, and so on, as well as her infamous oh god. Oh dear god, no! Please God, have mercy! No! Not to jam anything with it! No! Oh my god! Ah! Ah! It may seem as though I've been a little bit harsh, but don't fret. Eternal Fighter Zero is a great game. The art direction is stunning at times. The characters and the frantic fast-paced action that they provide can make for some hectic and adorable fun, and the controls are fluent and responsive with the exclusion of special moves. So I'm giving Eternal Fighter Zero Memorial a B.